Hello and welcome. In today's video, we are going to create a new free Azure account, and we are going to create, through that account, we are going to create an Azure SQL database. As you can see, creating an account on Azure is absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything. All you need is a credit card. You get 12 months of popular free services. You get more than 25 services that are free, and you get $260 Canadian credit towards the services that you use within the first month. And um, after that, your plan turns into pay as you go, which you can configure however you want. If you look at the services that Azure offers, there are hundreds, a very long list. We will start by clicking Start for Free. Over here, we are redirected to a page. We are going to click on Start for Free again. In the next screen, if you already have a email address and password that you want to use, if you have a Microsoft account or existing account that you want to use, you can use here. For the sake of this video recording, instead of using a pre-built account, existing account, I'm actually going to create a new one. So I'll click on Create One. You can type any account name that you want that is not already used by somebody else. I'm going to type this account name that I'm going to use for this video. So this is my account name, and I'm going to suffix it with the outlook.com. Once I've done that, I will click next. Now it is asking me to create a password for the account. I'll just type in a password. It takes me to a new screen where it is asking me to enter the letters on the screen. This is just Microsoft way of validating that the form is actually filled by a human and not by some automated software to avoid spamming or any other malicious mean of utilizing the creation of account. So I'm going to type in the letters that are on the screen. V4YV PQYS. Click next. In the next screen, it is going to ask me my name, and since I've already supplied email address, that is pre-filled. It is going to ask me my phone number, and in the next screen, it is going to ask me my credit card information. Remember, Microsoft does not charge your credit card without notifying you. So even though you enter your credit card information over here, it will not be charged unless you use a service that requires you to pay. And briefly, if you look on the right side of the screen, you can see that what you're getting is a free account. I have filled out my credit card information and my phone number, and I'm on the next screen. Here I have to agree with the Microsoft agreement. If you want to receive offer from the Microsoft, you can click the next checkbox as well. I'm not doing it right now. I'm just going to agree with the terms. And again, like I said, on the right side of the screen, you can see what is included in the free account: 12 months of free products. You have a $250 credit, and you have 25 plus always free products. And like I said, there will be no automatic charges. Microsoft will notify you before your credit card is charged. Now click sign up. It is creating your account. the account is now created. You can see you have now this account. If you want to join a demo with Azure, um, with Microsoft, you can do so by filling out the form below. I'm not doing it right now. I am just going to click on the um, go to portal button on the top, and that will take me to Azure portal. um, Azure portal is the place where you manage all your Azure services. So I'm going to click on go to portal. The next screen that you will see after I click on go to portal is Microsoft Azure portal. This is a quick start center. You can see there are different services available. This is just a small list, but Microsoft actually has hundreds of different services that Microsoft offers with Azure. If I want to change anything with my account, I can click here. If I go on setting, I can change the way this Azure portal looks. Some people like the dark theme, some people like the light theme. I like the theme that is currently selected, so I'm not going to change anything in here. All I am going to do is close this. I just wanted to show you how these options are available. If you want, you can change language and region as well. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click on this bell icon. This bell icon is used to show you notifications regarding the Azure portal. As you can see right now, I have 260 Canadian dollar credit available that will be used as I use services. Again, these credits will be used for the services that you have to pay for. If you use free services, this credit money obviously will not be used. Now in this demo, I am going to create a SQL database, but you can see that we have option to create a web app, and we have option to create a virtual machine. If you want to, we can deploy a container-based application or create a SQL database, or you can start a data analytics project. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to click on set up a database. When we click on set up a database, essentially what we are going to do, we are going to create a Microsoft SQL Server database in the cloud. As you can see, there are two options here. We have an option to create Azure SQL database, or we can create a Cosmos DB database. For the sake of this demo, we will create Azure SQL database. Azure SQL database, probably you already know, is a relational database management system. It is around for like possibly 20 more years. In last few years, Microsoft started offering Azure SQL database as a platform as a service in Azure ecosystem. Before that, it used to be a software that you purchase and install on a server, which is still the case. You can buy Microsoft SQL Server license and install it on a on-prem server. You can also install Microsoft SQL Server on a virtual machine that you create inside Microsoft Azure. What I am creating right now is a Azure SQL database platform as a service. When I click on create, I am redirected to this screen. As you can see, my subscription is free trial, and it is asking me to create a resource group. Resource group is essentially a way of grouping information, grouping essentially your Azure resources into different groups for easy management, for easy deployments, and essentially if you have to migrate, you can migrate resource group from one location to another. I don't want to go in a lot of details with it, but every resource that you create in Azure, pretty much all of them should be in a resource group, and you manage your resource groups depending on the policy you're following within your organization or a company. It is a good practice to name Azure resources in a user-friendly way. For example, for a resource group, I'm going to prefix it with RG, and that just tells me that this name is a resource group name. So I'm going to say RG SQL Server. Essentially, I'm saying RG resource group SQL Server. So if I will create new SQL Server databases in future, um, if this is my company or organization policy, I will probably put them in the same resource group. So my resource group is created and selected in the drop down. Now I have to provide a database name. I can provide any database name I want. I'm going to go with a very simple one. I'm going to name this database DB01. As you can see that system has accepted this database name. Now I do not have a server created already. I do not have Azure SQL database server created. So I'll have to click create new. I clicked create new. Now I have to supply the server name. Now the server name must be unique in the Azure ecosystem. I can't just choose any name. So as you will see, I will try to type in different names, and since those names are taken, the system is not going to allow me to create a SQL database with those names. So I'll have to come up with some name which is not already used by somebody else in Azure ecosystem. So I'm going to type in this. Let me try with SQL 2020, and yeah, system accepted it, which means this is a name that is not used by anyone else. There is no Azure SQL database server named SQL 2020 right now. So the full database name is going to be SQL 2020.database.windows.net, as you can see on the screen. Now here I have to supply a SQL Server admin login. This login information, the username and password that I'm going to supply, type it in here. This is essentially, if you're aware with the SQL Server permission mechanism, is kind of a sysadmin login, which means that this username and password has all the permissions, all the access, is like a super user login. And if you log in with this account in this SQL Server, you can pretty much do anything. You can create new databases, drop databases, you can take backups, you can pretty much do anything. In terms of location, I'm going to choose US East as my region because that works for me. You can choose any other region as long as SQL Server services offered in that region. For the Elastic Pool option, I'm going to choose no. In this video, I'm not going to talk about Elastic Pool, but in future videos I will explain you what is Elastic Pool and how it works. And now the very last option where it says standard as 0, that is the option where you choose how much processing power and storage you want for your SQL Server. So yeah, you can see that there are three different tiers available: basic, standard, and premium. All these three tiers essentially meant to provide you different levels of processing power and storage depending on your requirement. As of this moment, you can see that the standard tier is selected, and if I go with option that is selected right now, where I'm getting 10 GTUs and 100 megabyte, the monthly charge for this database is going to be $19.60. But if I change the GTUs, you can see the charge is increasing. If I change the data size, database max size, the charges will increase as well. I have clicked on basic tier, and in the basic tier I'm going to select try to select the maximum of the data size, which is in this case 2 gigabytes. So if I keep going all the way to 2 gigabyte, you will see that my monthly charge for this SQL Server database is still $6.39 Canadians, which is giving me 5 DTUs. DTUs are essentially data based transaction unit. It's a combination of memory and processing power that will be available to this database that I'm creating. um, I can, if I need more memory and processing power, I will choose higher GPUs. If I need less processing power, I'm going to choose a smaller GPU size. For the sake of this demo and this video, um, this GPU size of 5 GPUs and this 2 gigabytes of disk space for the database going to work for me. So I click on apply. You can see that over here basic is selected and 2 GB storage is selected. Now in the next step I'm going to click networking. Over here you can see that I have 3 options: no access, public endpoint, and private endpoint. Private endpoint makes it very secure. You have to configure apply very specific configuration. For the sake of this video, I'm going to select public endpoint, which means that this SQL Server database will be available in public domain, but it does not mean that anybody can access it. It will only be accessible through the IP addresses that I specify. I am checking this box, the very last line on the screen, at current client IP address, which means it is adding my IP, so I cannot connect from my computer to the SQL Server database. The line just above it, which says allow Azure services and resources to access the server, I have checked yes on that as well, which means that different Azure services, for example, Azure Data Factory or Azure Data Lake, they will be able to connect to this newly created Azure SQL database. Once I have done that, I am going to click next for additional settings. So I'm clicking on next additional settings. Now for the data source, I have options. I can just choose in terms of use existing data, I can just choose none, which means the database will be entirely blank. I can restore from a backup of a database. If I have an on-prem database, I've taken a backup of it, I can choose that. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to choose sample, which means that it will create a sample database, which is adventure work database. If you are in the domain of databases, you might know that this is a very famous database provided by Microsoft as a sample to everyone, free, as a free database. So you can practice SQL, you can practice different features of SQL Server and SQL database. Microsoft had this advanced security layer, which it charges extra $19, 19.2 Canadian dollars. For the sake of this video, we don't need it, so we'll just leave it as it is, which means I am not enabling advanced data security. For your production databases, you might want to. You can possibly additionally create tags. The tags are just tags that you add to your different resources in Azure. It just makes it a lot easier to search and manage resources. You can search them by tag. So if you're doing a project and you create a whole bunch of resources for that project, you can put a project name as a tag over here. Right now I'm not going to apply any tags to it. I'm just going to click create, review, and create. When I click on the button that says next, review plus create, it is going to show me all the options that I have selected to create this database. Is essentially a summary of all of my choices. If I am okay with all of this, I can create I can click the create button in the left bottom. If not, I can click on previous button and I can go back and change the options that I have selected. So after careful review of all of the choices that I have made, I am going to now click on create, and that will create my database. It will take a minute or maybe less than a minute to create this, but and it's doing it right now. I'm just gonna wait with you and watch this screen as it is showing me your deployment is underway. Essentially what is happening in the background, that in Azure ecosystem, in some data center out there in US East Coast region, um, Azure is creating a database server and a database and other resources related to it. As these resources are created, you will on this screen see those resources appear. So one by one you will see that these resources will start to appear. um, on the right side you can see it is showing me all my subscription ID, my operation name and all of that as a summary. um, you will see that as it makes progress, um, different resources are now becoming available. You can say that it's created. It is also has created a resource for allow all Windows Azure IPs. Remember the option we selected, and also the client IP resource. Um, just a few more seconds and our SQL Server database will be created, and as soon as it is created we will receive a notification that it is created. Few more seconds to go. You can see that the spinning wheel and these three dots that is blinking after one another is going to stop in a few seconds, and a SQL Server notification for creation of SQL Server database will appear. It is ready. You can see that it says deployment succeeded. I am now going to click on this bell icon to see the notification, and I will click on go to resource. When I click on go to resource, essentially I'm saying that take me to the SQL Server that I just created. I click on go to resource. This is the dashboard of the SQL Server database that I just created. You can see that SQL 2020 is the database server name and DB01 is the database name. If you want to see the connection string, you can click here. This is the connection string that you will be using in different applications who will connect to this SQL Server. You can see that status is online. It's in East US region. You can see if we were utilizing this this database server, which we have not done so far, you will see in the graph the utilization. You can see on the right side that the size of the database is 2 gigabyte, which we selected. 11 megabyte is used as space because we chose a sample database, so it has created some tables for us. I'll show you those tables. And 16 megabyte is allocated space. There are a whole bunch of options available on the left which you can explore. If you want to see the activity log, you can go here and see the different activities that has happened. If you want to see tags, you can click here. If there are any problems, you can diagnose and solve them here. If you want to see different options available that you can do after creating the SQL database, you can do it here. What I want to show you is a query editor, which is, we also call it online query editor or Azure portal query editor. Here I'm going to type in the password for that I supplied when I chose the SQL admin account during the process of database server creation. I click OK. Now you can see on the left side that I have my tables, views and stored procedure. Again, these tables, views and stored procedures are created because I chose AdventureWorks LT as the sample database. If I chose none at that time, you will not see any objects over here. No tables, no views. It will be completely empty database, and that's what happens in real life most of the time. You get completely empty database and then you create objects in it. For the sake of this demo, I am running a very small SQL. I want to show you how you can write SQL in here and execute it to see the results. I have a table called saleslt.product. I just typed select a star from saleslt.product and it is running. I click on run, it will run the SQL and show me the data. This is the data that is available in saleslt.product table. I can browse through this data and see what is in there. You can see that I have a customer table. If I want to instead of writing the SQL, if I just want to see um, top 10,000 rows of that table, I just click on three dots and click on it. It is there, and you can see that it has created a new query 2 tab with the new SQL. When I want to run it, I just click on run, and this SQL is executed. It is now displaying me data of the customer table. I can do the same with the views. I can click on three dots and click select top 1000, click on run, and now it will show me data of that view. In the future videos, I'll give you more information about how you create tables, how you create views. There are many different ways to do it. The tool of choice for developers to do all of this work is SQL Server Management Studio, which is a really good tool in my opinion. I've been using it for a very long time. If you, like I said, if you want to see connection string, you can see it here, and when you connect to your SQL Server Management Studio to this database, this is the connection information we will be using, and we will do that in the future videos. You can see there are a whole bunch of options available. You can do auditing, you can do dynamic data masking. Again, in the future videos we'll talk about that. Dynamic data masking is essentially a method of masking the sensitive information like names, date of birth, and email addresses, so they are only visible to the people they should be visible to, and not to everyone. It's a very cool feature from Microsoft. If you want to see metrics, you can come here. The metrics that I normally use is DDU used, and I will select max. I just want to see how database is utilized. Since we have not really used this database at the moment, you can see the graph is pretty much empty, but in the future videos I'll show you as we utilize this database, which means we run queries in it, we run a stored procedure in it. It will use GTUs, and you can see the graph over here, how much GTUs is used. We can use this graph to plan whether we want more GTUs. The best part of working with Azure SQL Database is that you can increase and decrease GTUs anytime you want. If you are expecting a heavy load in a coming week because of higher sales, you can increase the number of GTUs, and once that week is gone, you can decrease the number of GTUs, and you only get charged for the period of time you had the GTUs. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.